What's going on, guys? Boost Auto here, and today we're going to be installing Lumastep M2 and Boost Auto power boards for 2021 and newer Ford Broncos. Let's get into it. Introducing Lumastep M2, the successor of Boost Auto's Lumastep M1, the one-of-a-kind light-up running board that took the industry by storm. Lumastep M2 features the same lighting technology with all the lighting functions you know, but with the upgrades that we'll know you'll love. Experience the comfort of our premium auto retract and auto deploy technology featuring heavy-duty front motors on both sides that output over 2 times the torque of some of the other stuff out there. Boost Auto powered running boards feature all the awesome features from Lumastep M2 without the light up functionality for those who love to keep a low profile. These boards are just as rugged and powerful as Lumastep M2, with the benefit of being nearly invisible when not in use. This specific procedure applies to 2021 and newer 4-door Ford Broncos. To get the latest in fitment information, availability, and to purchase our running boards, go to boostauto.com. We can now start mounting our brackets. We'll start here at the driver front, and our other bracket will mount here at the rear. We will start with mounting our first bracket on the driver's side. Locate your bracket labeled DF for driver front. At the front, here is our mounting locations. As you can see, we have a threaded hole under the rocker panel of the vehicle and 2 open holes at the pinch weld of the vehicle where we'll be mounting our bracket. Start with assembling your hardware. For this, you're gonna grab your 60mm hex bolt, a lock washer, and a flat washer, and you'll assemble your hardware. You're gonna partially thread it in, not all the way, because we'll be sliding our bracket over this bolt. You'll thread the bolts in and then slide it over the bolt. So again, you're gonna go ahead and maneuver it up on up there. These 2 holes will sit on the back side of your pinch weld and line up with the holes on the pinch weld. Once you got that lined up, we can now install our bolts that go to the pinch weld to the front of the bracket. You'll take your 10mm bolt found in your kit, install a flat washer on it, and then line it up and feed it through. Then on the other side, you'll take a flat washer, and then you'll install your 10mm lock nut. And then at the other point, we do the same exact thing. Line it up, and then install your hardware. With our bracket now installed, go ahead and tighten down your hardware. However, we'll be doing further adjustments down the line, so do not tighten it down all the way. The rear bracket will mount similar to the front bracket with 2 open holes at the pinch weld and 1 up top at the rocker panel. We'll line our bracket up, and once we line our bracket up, we can mount our top bolt. You'll take your 60mm bolt with the lock washer and flat washer, mount it at this hole at the top where you'll have a threaded hole on the rocker panel. With that bolt installed, install the 2 lower ones at the pinch weld just like the front bracket. And now tighten them down. However, again, don't tighten them down all the way because we'll be doing further adjustments down the line. Do the same steps on the passenger side. Remember, your passenger front bracket is labeled PF and your rear bracket is labeled rear, and it is not side dependent. On the passenger side of the vehicle, you may have this factory connector on the frame rail. If so, you'll simply remove it using a trim tool, and then when you install your bracket, you'll zip tie it out of the way. Before disconnecting your battery, slide your seat all the way back. Next, on the passenger side of the vehicle, disconnect the negative battery terminal. Now we can take our control unit harness and locate the gray connector that is labeled driver's side motor and route it down the firewall on the driver's side to our motor. And for our Lumastep M2 installers, you'll take your lighting harness with the 2 ring terminals and tape it here as well. Take a strand out metal piece and tape it to it. We'll be routing our harness back by the firewall, down the fender liner, up into the bottom of where our bracket sits. While you're routing your harness, keep it away from any heat or moving components. Once you feed it down, pull your harness through. Well, now we can untape it. Take your gray connector from your bracket and plug it into the gray connector you just routed down.
For our M2 installers, take the lighting harness and plug it into the corresponding slots at the bracket. And now secure the harness out of the way, again, of any heat or moving components. We can do the same steps on the passenger side. On your control unit harness, look for the connector labeled passenger side motor and route it down. For our M2 installers, you'll be routing the black connectors on the lighting harness without the ring terminals down to your bracket. Now locate your control unit and your control unit harness and plug them in together. We'll be mounting our control unit near our battery. Locate a suitable spot around the battery away from any heat or moving components. And on the side, you'll have slots. Secure your control unit using zip ties.
If you optioned for Lumastep M2, proceed with routing down the black receiving connector from your lighting harness to the headlight. We'll be tapping at the headlight for lighting functions.
To access the back of our headlight connector, we'll be partially peeling back the back of the fender liner.
Remove these two plastic screw and tabs. Next, remove these two screws located near the top of the fender liner. Once the screw and tabs and screws are removed, proceed with peeling back the fender liner to gain access to the headlight connector. We'll first show you how to install the plug-and-play adapter that you can option for your running boards. Next, we'll look at how the Hardwire adapter taps to the 16-pin connector. Please skip ahead to your specific section. The headlight connector on this vehicle is a 16-pin connector. Starting on the driver's side of the vehicle, disconnect the 16-pin connector from its housing. Once the 16-pin connector is removed from the housing, insert the plug-and-play adapter into the connector. Then attach the black receiving connector to the 16-pin connector attached to your plug-and-play adapter. Once that's connected, install the other end of the plug-and-play adapter to the headlight housing. On the passenger side, install the plug-and-play adapter in the same way. Starting on the driver's side of the vehicle, disconnect the 16-pin connector from its housing. Be sure to cut back some of the tape so you can tap further up on the wires. Start by tapping to pin 2 for turn signal. Looking at the wire end of the connector with the connector tab on top, pin 2 is located on the top row, second from the left. Use the provided red T-tap and press until it clicks in place. Go ahead and take the red and yellow wire from your Hardwire adapter and connect it to the T-tap here. Next, if you option for running light, tap to pin 9. Looking at the wire end of the connector with the connector tab on top, pin 9 is located on the bottom row all the way on the left. Use the provided red T-tap and press until it clicks in place. Go ahead and take the blue wire from your Hardwire adapter and connect it to the T-tap here. Next, we'll take the black connector on the Hardwire adapter and connect it to the black receiving connector from the main harness. Once done, go ahead and install the connector back into the headlight housing. Then, perform the same steps on the passenger side. Starting on the driver's side, go ahead and grab one of the white wires and route it down towards the headlight connector. Regardless of whether you have our plug-and-play adapter or our Hardwire adapter, the white wire from the rock light harness will connect to the white wire with the butt connector. You may want to have your headlight connector disconnected to have better access to your plug-and-play adapter or Hardwire adapter. Connect the white wire from rock light harness to the white wire on your adapter. Reconnect the headlight connector, then pass the other white wire to the passenger side and repeat the same steps. Then proceed with reinstalling the fender liner. Slide the fender liner into its original position. Reinstall the 2 screws near the top of the fender liner. And reinstall the 2 plastic screw and tabs as well. Then proceed to the passenger side and reinstall the fender liner in the same way. Next, for M2 installers, we'll take our white pass-through connector on the passenger side harness and route it over to the driver's side and connect it to the other white connector on the driver's side harness.
We'll be routing our signal input wires on our control unit harness back by the firewall on the driver's side right here at this grommet. For our M2 installers, if you option for Rocklight, you'll be routing it here as well. For our M2 installers who option for our Rocklight harness, take the end with your switch and disconnect it.
On your control unit harness, take the 2 signal input wires as well as the 2 wires from our optional Rocklight harness and tape them all to a straightened out metal piece.
Once you tape up your harness to your straightened out metal piece, route it inside the cabin through the grommet. We can now pull it through. Now we can untape our harness.
Let's connect our signal input wires at this time. You can leave the Rocklight wires to the side for now.
Locate this module here. This is where we'll be tapping our signal input wires. As you can see, it's located to the left of the grommet we just routed through. Once you locate your driver module, you'll proceed with unplugging the connector on the left, which in this case is the black connector. To unplugged, we'll be tapping at pin 7. With the connector tab pointing up, pin 7 is on the top row, 7th slot from the left. Take your control unit tap and the wider side, place it in between the jaws of the wire. Once it's lined up, you can now press in until it clicks in place.
Take your signal input wire labeled high and insert it at the other end of the control unit tap. Press until it clicks into place. Next, we'll tap our signal input low at pin 6. With the connector tab on top, pin 6 is located one spot over to the left from pin 7 that we just tapped at.
Take the wider end and insert it in between the wires. Once it's lined up, you can now press in until it clicks in place.
Take your signal input wire labeled low and insert it at the other end of the control unit tap. Press until it clicks into place.
And now we could plug the connector back in. For our M2 installers who option for our Rocklight harness, we can now look for a suitable spot on the dash to mount our switch.
Drill a hole into the dash. Once the hole is drilled, install the Rocklight switch. Be sure to connect the white wire to slot 1 and the red wire to slot 2.
Back under the hood on the driver's side, we could head on over to our battery where we'll be installing our power wire for our control unit harness. Locate your battery and set the cover aside. We'll be removing this nut here and installing our control unit battery positive wire. For our Lumastep M2 installers, take your lighting harness with the red wire and the ring terminal and install it here as well. For our M2 installers who option for Rocklight, you'll install your Rocklight power wire here as well. With those installed, reinstall the once removed nut. And now we can reinstall the cover. We can now reinstall our negative battery terminal. We'll be removing this nut here. And on your control unit harness, take your battery negative and install it. For our M2 installers, take your lighting harness, black wire with the ring terminal, and install it here as well. We can reinstall the nut now.
With everything now plugged in, we can now deploy our brackets. Open a door to deploy the front bracket. For the rear bracket, just pull it out manually to deploy. Next, install your spacer plates like so.
We'll now be installing our running boards.
In front of me, you can see we have our Boost Auto powered running boards, as well as our Lumastep M2 powered light up running boards. They install exactly the same, however for Lumastep M2 powered light up running boards, you'll have your module in front as well as the lighting strip that goes across the length of the board.
Before installing our running boards, we'll install our carriage bolts on the back side of the board. Start with flipping the board over. We'll be installing our carriage bolts on the back side and this channel of the running board. On the opposite end of your Boost Auto nameplate on the running board, slide in your carriage bolts right here. Slide the carriage bolts in the approximate location of your bracket. You can now install our running boards. Make sure your Boost Auto nameplate is facing towards the front of the vehicle. Line up the carriage bolts with the holes on the bracket and the spacer plate. Now install your 10mm nuts. Now you can tighten them, however, do not tighten it fully because we'll be doing further adjustments down the line. We can now start our alignment procedure with our running boards. Do so by sliding the boards all the way back. Once done, you can now close your door to retract the running boards. You may need to help your boards retract upwards. And once done, align it to your desired length.
For Lumastep M2 installers, you'll also install your lighting extension harness to your lighting module located in the end cap of the running boards.
You'll take your harness guide, insert your harness into it. Now install it into your running board.
Please note, the harness guides can be trimmed to your fitment needs. We can now start with tightening everything down. Start with tightening down your running board nuts. Then the rest of the hardware on the brackets.
Once you tighten the bottom of your boards, now open your door. And with that, you'll have access to the rest of your hardware. Go ahead and tighten it down at this time. Start with the 10mm bolts at the pinch weld. And now we can tighten the rest of our hardware.
Next, we'll loosen the screw on the bracket to pull any extra slack on the extension harness through to ensure a sleek look. Pull the slack through. Once pulled through, tighten down the screw. Then repeat these steps on the passenger side of the vehicle.
And now secure the slack on the harness away from any moving components or heat.
Now, here's a quick overview of the cleaning procedure for your new running boards. On either side of the vehicle, simply open the door and allow the board to deploy. With the board now deployed, step on the running board and close the door. After a few seconds, the board will then try to retract. Thanks to our pinch sensing technology, the board will stay deployed for ease of cleaning. Simply take your foot off the boards and proceed to clean. If you optioned your running boards with step pads, we highly recommend our step pad cleaning solution to prolong the longevity of your step pads. Once done, you can open and close the door to retract the running board. That wraps up this install for our Lumastep M2 and Boost Auto Power running boards. If you're interested in these or any other products we have to offer, visit our website at boostauto.com. To watch more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all for now. We'll catch you in the next one.